Good evening, everybody. Saturday night here in Appalachia. Another beautiful, warm August evening here. And just wanted to share with you, with the world, with the universe, something that has been in my thoughts now for a couple of weeks. And it is something that has come back to revisit me, in part I think because of what happened a couple weeks ago, where I talked about in last week's video about looking in the mirror. And this is the subject called bondage loops of fear. Now this subject, this phrase, crossed my path just over 3 years ago. For the first time, it was actually April 24th of 2021. And it crossed my path a couple times that summer of 2021. So what is a bondage loop of fear? It is this. When we break down the main causes of experiencing fear in our life, we must assess which side of the negative polarity we are in and where we have the most vulnerability to be exploited. Fear is used to create victims and victimizers that exchange places with each other to form bondage loops within the same polarity. People live in fear, feeling they're victims, when their perpetrators also live in fear as the victimizers. It is an interchangeable bondage loop that cannot be broken until you can see what side of the polarity that you play into. To break the cycle of fear-based bondage loops, we have to stop playing out that pattern of the negative polarity based in fear, and we must reach out for the unconditional love of God. Because fear is the opposite of love. It's my belief anyway. That's not what's written here. I'm putting my editorial comment in there. The first step in recognizing where fear has bondage loops in the exchanges we make that have some kind of control over us. In other words, this is expressed through relationships. Relationships with friends, colleagues, family, lovers, and especially with those closest to us. Victims and victimizers, and if it's a trauma bond, I believe we will rotate these roles of victim and victimizer. That's my experience after 3 years of studying this and looking deeply within myself at what happened. Many people that are living with unhealed subconscious fears vacillate between feeling threatened by fears and then lashing out at others. It's exactly what I used to do. When a man does not have emotional regulation, and he has unhealed fears of intimacy that he doesn't even know he has, okay, fears of being trapped, right? Fear of somebody else making decisions, so now he's not in control. If he is not attuned to both himself and his partner, he will resort to lashing out. In archetypal terms, this can be called if it's the boy psychology, they call it the high chair tyrant. And if it's man psychology, it's just the shadow of the divine child or the shadow of the king. So it's the high chair tyrant or just the tyrant. And this is where a man has to learn emotional regulation and not lash out. We can't lash out. Because that won't solve anything, that won't help anything. And all we are doing is playing victim. We feel as that we are a victim of something, so we lash out and become the victimizer. We just change the polarity. But this is what causes the loop that happens with someone close to us. We just keep exchanging this energy, victim and victimizer. And this is what I experienced. And this was pointed out to me And at the time, I didn't get it. So here we are. Okay. So I have, I'll go through a little bit more of this. The negative polarity and the frequency of fear matches the vibration that attaches to black energy and dark spirits. I want to step back for a minute on this, about what she says. All people that indulge in unrestrained and uncorrected negative emotional states of fear will attract demonic or dark spirits, demonic or dark spirits. And these negative spirits generate energetic blockages and cords in our light body. So now we have a situation where we're with somebody that we're close to, and there's a bondage loop of fear going on. Victim, victimizer, right? And we're lashing out. And the more we lash out, the more fear we are projecting. And we allow these demonic and dark spirits to really take control of us. And it can actually get to the point of possession. We attract them, and they generate energetic blockages and cords in our light body. Now, at the time when this was happening to me, it was pointed out to me who the spirits that I was attracting. And it was spirits that I had to heal. Spirits that I want to heal, along with healing myself, to make myself heal and whole and holy, and thereby healing these spirits. And these spirits were what's called generational spirits. In other words, the spirits of our families. For example, in my instance, it's my father, my grandfather, my great-grandfather, and my great-great-grandfather. Two of them were very much present, literally in the room, during some of these episodes, attached to me and influencing me in negative ways. And that's the cycle we want to break. Okay. So let me read that again. All people that indulge in unrestrained and uncorrected negative emotional states of fear, and for a man it's just when we just let it fly, okay, with no emotional regulation, will attract demonic and dark spirits, and these negative spirits generate energetic blockages and cords in our light body. This can greatly amplify sensations of chaos and anxiety internally within the body, because there are hitchhikers hanging on. And that's what I had, was hitchhikers hanging on. At this time, when this was happening, this summer of 2021, there was a lot of entities in the room some nights, most nights actually, almost every night. And many of them I could sense, some of them I could see. I don't mean they just showed themselves like another human being, but I could see kind of their outline. Listen, I know you're there. I can feel your vibration, and I can sense to the point where it's almost like seeing an aura, except it's a little bit more than that. It's not just an outline. Many times they're just floating around the top of the room. So this is something that came back to me, this idea, this concept of bondage loops of fear came back to me a few weeks ago. And I've been working with it over the past few weeks. Let me read a little bit more here. All of us must learn how to overcome our fears, which dissolves the darkness that exists within the layers of our mind so that we can become free of mental bondage. When we are no longer controlled by fear-based belief systems and reactions, we can stop allowing fear bondage loops and the dark spirits they attract to make an internal dwelling inside our bodies, minds, and emotions. Okay? So we have to push past the fear. It's kind of like what I talked about going to Rhythmia a couple weeks ago. We have to push past our fears. And the opposite of fear, love. So how do we push past our fear? Well, the biggest thing is that we have to find self-love. Because when we find self-love, then what other people do, whether they're friends, colleagues, family, or intimate relationships, what they do does not have that same effect on us. Understand? Because we become more whole within ourselves, and we know that they have their own things, right? And we want to help them and bless them and love them and send them love, right? But we don't want to take on their energy, their emotions, because what they're experiencing is not about us. It's not about me. What she is experiencing is not about me. Okay? And that's where we want to walk hand in hand through that dark episode, whatever it may be. This was back in 2021, some people might call this, what I was going through was the dark night of the soul. It was a very interesting time. Very, very interesting time. So I will read to you what was guided to me exactly. The first part of this was the generic that comes from a website called Ascension Glossary. I'll put the link down below. It's fascinating, and I shout out to Lisa Renee for putting together Ascension Glossary, because it's changed my life since I was guided to it through another person, a third person, beginning in late December of 2019, early January 2020, was when I was first guided to some things in Ascension Glossary. It's just amazing, and I keep referring back to it, and there's a reason for that, because I haven't embodied all of this, and that's why I'm coming back to this bondage loops of fear, because I haven't embodied all this and healed all this in me. So there's 3 times I was given this bondage, an extract out of this whole bondage loops of fear topic. April 24th, June 17th, and July 3rd, 2021. The first step in recognizing where fear has bondage loops is in the exchanges we make that have some kind of control over us. So I already read that. It has to do with our relationships. And we have to, by taking an honest inventory of what places inside of us are feeling fear, we can then study the reasons why we feel this fear and how we react to it. Now think about those words. By taking an honest inventory of what places inside of us we are feeling fear. So we have to look inside. Where in my body do I feel fear? Is it in my gut? Is it in my, do I want to fight or flight? So I've got it in my arms and legs, right? Is it in my head? Is it in my jaw, where I literally, some people are frozen, they can't talk because of fear? Where is it in the body that we feel fear? It might be in my shoulder, okay? You never know. It could be in your back, all right? To overcome fear, we must study ourselves, witness our mental thoughts and emotional reactions to other people, places, and things. And the negative polarity and the frequency of fear matches the vibration that attaches to black energy and dark spirits. So we can go sit on a mountaintop somewhere, or we can go sit in a cave for the rest of our lives. And we can call ourselves enlightened. And I see these people in these Facebook groups, oh, love and light. Yeah, that's wonderful. All right, what triggers you is what I want to ask them. We can do those things, but the real test where the rubber meets the road is in our relationships and our interactions with other human beings, and especially face to face. And in this world, unfortunately, we don't get a lot of that. I know I'm online. I work remotely, Monday through Fridays. It's difficult. This episode that happened a couple weeks ago really woke me up to how I have to communicate differently with people on this online world, or this remote world. But that's where the rubber meets the road. Okay, if we're sitting at home all alone, it's easy. But when we go out in the real world, that's where it gets tough. So I got 3 of these. They're actually kind of long. I won't go through all of them. Are we living with subconscious fears and perceptions of outer threats so that we manipulate and control the environment and others in order to feel more secure? Boy, who doesn't want to control their environment? You see that everywhere. I do anyway. And maybe I'm just seeing my own projection. I'm looking in the mirror. Who knows? But I do sense that a lot of people want to control their environment. Do we experience sensation of fear and mental paralysis often in our day-to-day thoughts and emotions? In other words, are we afraid to take action? Analysis paralysis. Do we overthink it? I've been guilty of that in my life because I live in my head. I used to, until I had a heart opening 4 years ago. Right? But we can get lost in our thoughts. Analysis paralysis, afraid to take action. When do we react and use fear to get what we want from other people or situations? That's when we lash out. We become the manipulator. The manipulator is another shadow archetype. It's a shadow archetype of the magician. The magician works magic to manifest his reality. But if he's in the shadow, he's going to manipulate others to manifest something. That's the difference. Okay. What are the causal events and the real reasons that we feel triggered in fear or feel threatened? This is a deep one. Okay, what triggers us? Lack of validation, someone not listening to us, not agreeing with us. Maybe they have a different political persuasion. Good God. You know what I mean? But that's what triggers us. Because we have been programmed in a certain way to, in a sense of conformity, where everyone's going to be like us. When in fact, what we want to do is reprogram ourselves to appreciate the uniqueness of everybody. And when we appreciate the uniqueness of everybody, and we learn to take nothing personally, the 4 agreements written by Don Miguel Ruiz, I highly recommend it. Don't take it personally. When we appreciate the uniqueness of everybody and we don't take things personally, then we can not be triggered. It really is important to appreciate the uniqueness, and we just don't have this conversation in our world. We live in this world of one size fits all, and it starts at a very young age. We all go to school, the dysfunctional educational system, right? We all sit in a room and learn the same things, or at least we try to. It doesn't work. First of all, not everybody learns the same way, and not everybody's interested in the same things. It's quite dysfunctional. It goes against all of human nature. Right? So I'll finish with a couple more. When we break down the main causes of experiencing fear in our life, we must assess which side of the negative polarity we are in. I already read that part. Yep. Many people that are living with unhealed subconscious fears vacillate between feeling threatened by fears and then lashing out at others to regain the sensation of having personal control over their environment. Imposters manipulate fear perception. This is how our 3D system works on planet Earth. As long as it remains in the hands of the controllers, capital C, that desire to keep humanity in servitude, Many humans have subconsciously taken on the fear-based predator mind belief system that were given to them from alien mind control for the purpose of subconscious enslavement. Okay, so all we got to do is look back to 2020 and 2021 with what happened in the mass consciousness of fear globally, and understand the fear-based predator mind belief system that was in work for the purpose of consciousness enslavement. That is what we have been experiencing for the last 4 years. And it's happening again right now. And they, right, in this wording, it's the alien mind control. So, as I was saying, imposters manipulate fear perception. This is how the 3D system works on planet Earth. As long as it remains in the hands of the controllers that desire to keep humanity in servitude. Many humans have subconsciously taken on the fear-based predator mind belief system that were given to them from alien mind control for the purposes of consciousness enslavement. What have we seen in the last 4 years? Consciousness enslavement on a global scale, right? Literally, fear-based consciousness enslavement. All right, and the victimizers who are putting out this fear are not going to stop. They're at it again today. They're at it again right now, whether it's Mpox or some other thing. All right. One of my colleagues yesterday, supposedly for the last 3 weeks, has the big C. All right. I had to zip my lip while we were on this meeting. Couldn't tell them it doesn't exist because they wouldn't get it. The gap's too wide. All right. But there is a large segment of the global population that is become enslaved by this mind control, and it's not going to stop. All right. The bad guys are pulling out all the stops because they have a goal around 2030, and their goal is that a lot of us are not going to be here. So, I hope that this resonated with somebody. Bondage, Loops of Fear. I will put a link to this website down in the description, and you can go through it yourself and see what you think. It has had a profound effect on me to learn these things. And as I said, I was introduced to this 3 years ago, and I'm still learning and still embodying it and still healing and becoming whole and holy. It is a never-ending, lifelong process, and I hope you'll join me on this journey up to that top of that mountain, because I don't want to be alone up there. I want all of us to be there, or as many as we can, as many as we can fit on the top of that mountain, so that we can live, laugh, sing and dance, and love. So I wish you all the best on this beautiful Saturday night. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, aho.